What is up, guys and gals? Today we're going to tackle why our fishing reel might make that ticking sound when it goes up and down. Just like that. Now in some reels it's more noticeable than others. For example, this 550 SSG is pretty pronounced. But if you go to something like this Shakespeare, it's still there and I can hear it, but you may not be able to. For this 550, it's happening at the top and the bottom of the oscillation, and essentially the same for this as well, but since it's so light at the bottom of the oscillation, it's not as loud at the top. Typically the bottom click will be louder than the top click. Now whether you're doing this 550 SSG or that Shakespeare, the reasoning behind that clicking sound will generally be the same. There is one other one on the Shakespeare that I'll show you that may be a culprit as well, but we're going to start with the 550 SSG. Now I want you to pay special attention to the spool when I go up and down in the oscillation. I'm going to show you that one more time in slow motion. Now if you didn't see that, I've locked this drag down so we can magnify or accentuate the effect that's happening here. And if you see this spool rotate, basically what's happening there is that shaft is rotating. And I know this because it will take a greater effort to turn that spool, so it's not the drag that's causing that issue. So basically we're having that shaft rotate, which in turn rotates the block and can cause it to click. I'll open this reel up and show you what I'm referring to. So we've taken that main gear out, and what I want to show you is the block itself. So I want you to look at that, and I hope you can notice that that block is rotating on top of the crosswind gear. That's one reason it could be clicking at the top and the bottom of the oscillation. Now there's also one other factor that could be causing the clicking. They both have to do with hitting the top and the bottom and the change in direction. And that's basically the centrifugal force is greater at the top and at the bottom when you change directions, and that translates into this block flexing or rotating. So you'll get this at the bottom and the same thing at the top when it changes directions. Now you'll also get this up and down motion. That's likely coming from the post inside that channel on the back of the block. So now we're going to open that up and show you what I'm talking about. Now if you look at the bottom of that block, you'll see that channel right there. That goes inside that channel. First thing we can look to see the reason it can rotate or flex is because this post is slightly higher than the depth of that channel right there. So you'll have this effect happening, kind of like that. There's nothing wrong with these two pieces. They're both fine. I'm simply showing you why that can happen on some reels. Now when it comes to the post interacting with that channel, you will see that I can move this up and down. And when I'm doing that, this is the sound it's making. And of course, the faster you go, the louder that sound will be. So how do we fix those two problems? We're not necessarily going to fix it completely, but we can mitigate it by doing a couple things. I'm going to take an extra amount of grease, put that around that post, and I'm going to do the same thing for that channel right there. Just like that. I'm also going to add some grease on these ends, so when they interact with the housing or the metal on the crosswind gear, it deadens the sound. Now see the grease all in there, grease all in there. I'm going to stick this back on. And again, we're not looking for a complete elimination of that sound, but we are looking to hear that it's a lot less than it was before. Now let's see what the end result is by adding that extra grease to those parts on the reel. There you go. I can still hear a slight amount of clicking when it changes directions from the top to the bottom and the bottom to the top, but it is much less noticeable because of the extra grease. Now you may be asking yourself, why do you hear it on some reels and not on others? Truth of the matter is, pretty much all spinning reels do that, where the shaft rotates, which in turn can rotate the block and click it against the crosswind gear. And the other reason is on some reels, if you notice inside the housing, there are two posts going through the crosswind block. That helps reduce the flex that's happening to the shaft. Now for the final reason, I'm going to show you using this Shakespeare reel because it's just more noticeable on this one. Now on this Shakespeare reel, you'll notice that there is quite a bit of play. between the crosswind gear and the post that it's riding on. So imagine the force of that spool going back down. It will shift the location of the crosswind gear as much as allowed by that post. So another reason you can have that clicking is it going up and down, interacting with the posts, or clicking against the post when it goes up and then when it goes down. Guys, I hope you found the information useful. If you did, please hit that thumbs up button and check out this video if you want to learn how to take apart, service, and reassemble your Penn Spinfisher 6 7500. Consider subscribing to the channel with the notifications turned on. I'll see you all next time.